What's up, you bunch of Siths? Welcome back to Sith Happens, a Star Wars podcast. I am Eric the Dadalorian, and I am joined by always with my co-host. If I am the scruffy Chewy, this is my Han Solo. His name is Matty Ice.
Matty Ice, the scoundrel. Thank you, Dadalorian. My name is Matt, aka Black Series Daily Desk, and hello there to all of our followers and listeners.
Yep, and thank you guys for bearing with us as we took a couple of weeks off. We wanted to kind of just take a little break, focus some time on our regular day jobs as well as our family, so we appreciate you guys bearing with us there. And we got a lot to get into over this episode, because over the last few weeks while we were gone, we had not one, not two, not three, but 4 episodes of Bad Batch that we had pop up. And honestly, I think it really has been, this season has been just bar none, some of the best as far as animation in Star Wars, in my opinion. So,
100%.
It's been wild. It's been absolutely wild. Like, there is, so like with Bad Batch in seasons 1 and 2, you know, they've always had those ones that I'm not going to call them filler episodes, but they felt, you know, like, okay, there's nothing important going on. Every single episode we've had so far has been ball to the wall, like some wild stuff going on, and it all is like directly to the ending of this series with Bad Batch. There's no filler really. So
yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, no, and I think also, go on, brother. Sorry.
I was gonna say, I'm just super impressed with it. Like super impressed with it. So, what do you think so far?
I mean, I think it is. I'm echoing everything you've said, and I'm like, I think what they were doing a lot of it was not necessarily filler episodes. It was a lot of these side missions, and that was meant for character development, right? Like, but I think the formula they're using now is it's interesting because they have. I think we're getting a 16 episode season, so like it's not like a truncated season, but it's like the way they're accelerating it is. It's okay to have these little side hustles.
Mm-hmm.
They're driving towards more of the major plot and less of the character development. And I think. I was actually thinking about this. Some of the episodes that were there for character development, right? When you go back to like last season, it's really a lot of that character development was like for tech, right?
Yeah.
To get people to like care about tech because they're going to kill tech. And as we always remind people, this show is full of spoilers. If you haven't watched Star Wars content, you don't know a lot about Star Wars content. This is not the podcast for you. No. So we love you. You can listen. I'm just going to be really pissed off. But yeah, so. Essentially, yeah, I think a lot of that was to get us into like tech. Like we love tech, we want tech. Like he's gone from this. You know, I think they've established he might be autistic. I don't know fully, but there was like a discussion around them kind of like alluding to that and this like development in him and his trajectory to like now flirting kind of, being brown eyes, and then they killed him off. And I think that. If they had layered that in a little bit more last season, it would have looked a little bit more layered in what they're doing now. It would have looked and felt a lot more like there was some kind of a permanent trajectory. And I feel like what they're doing with this season is they're like, maybe they thought they were going to get 4 seasons. I don't know, but they're just like, all right, guys, double time. Like everything we do has got to be meaningful. Everything's got to drive to this ending. I mean, we know that we're careening for tears with Crosshair, who's my favorite, but yeah.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk about that because that shit's coming, brother. But getting like straight into these episodes, right? So the one a couple of weeks back, we had episode 4 titled "A Different Approach." This one, Omega and Crosshair work together to escape the planet that they crashed on, and after disguising themselves, they do their little side hustle, hustling an Imperial officer, and they escape the Lao spaceport and reunite with Hunter and Wrecker in a quite tense standoff. So this one did have that vibe of like that side mission type at first, where it was like, so it didn't feel directly because it went into, and this is one of those things people always fight about, like, oh, they made Star Wars too much for kids. It's been for kids all along, and this really had that feel of like, this is going to be lighthearted at first, and then it kind of developed into some oh shit scenario, because they crash land, and at that point they're just trying to get the hell out of Dodge with the shuttle and get into town, try to find something to get the hell out of there. So they disguise themselves, and their stint broke. And they go to spaceport. The girl's like, yeah, you need, I think it was 30,000 credits to basically sneak her onto this aircraft, which ended up being for fuck all at the end anyways.
Yeah, right. Ain't that the way it goes?
Yeah, pretty much so. But it was cool because, you see Crosshair, Omega, and Batcher. Pretty much, the three of them kind of form this own little team. It's the start of it, and it develops more over these next episodes.
Yeah.
But it was cool. It had the vibe. You see a new game in Star Wars, which I'm hoping they kind of put something out for that. Like, hey, maybe
It
we
looked
could play
fun, yeah.
this
Yeah.
because that would
I
be
should
pretty cool.
live stream us learning how to play this. That would definitely take
Oh,
that.
dude, I could barely play freaking like spades, bro. Okay, that like I can't
Oh, no.
imagine me trying.
I'm the world's worst card player on the planet. Like we can discuss this another time, but we can discuss like I would be bad at sabacc if we want to tie this back to.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, 100%. But yeah, I think like what you were saying about that episode, the thing I think I loved the most about it was, and what they're doing a great job of is Omega to me is the first character they ever really nailed introducing because there's always the character that is your eyes in the universe of each one of these shows or movies. There's the young person that is the catalyst for this journey or a part of the catalyst for this journey that goes along with the world weary warrior, right? Like that's
yeah,
Star Wars. There's always got to be that element in expanding to in the world. I think if you take the Luke and Anakin out of it, because that's like, prequels and OT, and you really think around like people hated Ahsoka when you first had Ahsoka, that people were dubious about Ezra. I think Omega's the first character they really nailed it with, where like immediately people were like, no, I'm on board. I'm pretty on board. At least most of the people that I know felt that way. I can't speak to the internet at large who hates everything. But
yeah,
what I like about what they did with this episode was they took all of the things that she's been learning and they're continuing to apply it. So
hmm,
she would either know how to play that game or be good at that game because she spent like a year at Sid's with
yeah,
people playing card games in a bar, right? Like if you think about it within those terms, like the way she talks, she knows all the different plans when they steal the ship. The episode before that, her and Crosshair. We'll get into it, but the most recent two episodes, she's like doing military call outs. Like she learned that from these guys. And I
yeah,
think it's really cool in that episode, that progression of her she's like almost the ultimate warrior. Like she's learned all these different things from them. And I thought that was awesome. And then I think one of my favorite things is, and I know we're talking at each episode at a time, is I like it's got to be like macular degradation or something going on with Crosshair's hand. But I love how he kind of misses his first shot every time all of a sudden, and it's
yeah,
like the boom, and then he goes like that thing, like, and it's almost like it makes me think of like when you're playing a video game and the
hmm,
character's running in front of you, like you're third person on it. And they're running, and they have like a little motion that they do when they reload something. Like it's almost like that would be a thing that was programmed into a video game. Like you shoot, and then you go, and then you kind of like move through. But
yeah.
it's
And
crazy.
it's super interesting to see that too because we haven't we get into a little bit in the later episodes with this as far as like what was done to him there and everything,
Yeah,
but we don't know exactly why he's really lost that ability
yeah,
because he's dropped down drastically in his ability to sharpshoot and everything. But I think what was cool about that episode is like Omega came in and she's like, all right, yeah, let's in the title of the show or of
yeah,
that episode, a different approach. She's like,
yeah,
no, we're not going to blast our way out of here. Let's just try to do this some way else. And then it cuts all the way up to the end where they get to the spaceport and the same Imperial officer they
yeah.
hustled is like, did you think I didn't know who you were? And she just turns back to him and he's just like, oh, all right, we'll do this my way.
Exactly. And that's that first shot. But like even the animals getting released and running through, it was like
No.
also action movie vibes, right? And I think like, yeah, and I think what's been cool about this season is for me with Crosshair, who's my favorite character, I think I felt like I
He's
love the
grown
idea.
on me. I was not a
I know
Crosshair
you were
fan.
not a Crosshair guy.
This
Yeah.
this season, like and like I know this is building up to something bad, and I'm like, dude, you're gonna kill him right as I'm starting to love this
Well,
character.
no, that's exactly what they're doing because there are people that aren't like me that didn't love him, and they're just gonna get. You know how they do. These are
Yeah.
the Filonies and the cartoons. But
Like,
no, but
yeah.
yeah, you're screwed. You're totally screwed. You weren't gonna make it out of that one. I mean, I feel like though, yeah, like they're building it up, like what you said, but I felt cheated when the first season came out because I loved it, and I was like, all right, he's a bad guy. Like I'm ready for this arc. We'll see where they're gonna go with it. Like I'm pumped, and then it felt a little bit like I wasn't getting to see my favorite Bad Batch character that much, right? Because like he came
Yeah.
in here and there, and it was a little annoying. And I love the way they brought them together at the end of the first season.
Yeah.
Second season, he is in like 4 episodes, I think, or three. I think four, but he doesn't really. One of them almost doesn't count. He just makes that like radio call or whatever.
Yeah.
But each episode he's in is like really important to the plot and his character.
Drastically.
So I feel like if you're a fan of Crosshairs, I feel like I'm kind of getting what I earned this season with him.
Yeah,
Like
I
it's
guess that's a
like
valid point. So,
yeah,
but
this is what I would. You're making it interesting for me too. Like if it had just
mhm.
been, if it was been Crosshair's prime, then would have been a totally different thing. But yeah,
No doubt. But honestly, I thought episode so like to wrap that episode up, I thought episode 4 was pretty cool. It had the light vibes with the the gambling scene in the bar, and then at the
yeah,
same time, it got into some really nice action scenes throughout it, and then that incredibly tense standoff where I love the way that they did this where Hunter and Wrecker are on the planet, get on the planet, and they land and meet them, and Omega runs out and it's yo, what's up? Like
yeah.
all hugs and shit, and then Crosshair steps off, and it's just like it was like an old west standoff, dude, like some Tombstone type of shit almost.
I mean, you
Like,
know it was going to go down at all. And I think what I love too is they got us to it. Like that,
yeah,
the Bad Batch that we watched 2 seasons ago, maybe even last season, what we saw them coming together, you would have watched an episode of the one group, an episode of the other group, an episode of the one group, an episode of the other group, and like halfway through the season, they'd get together. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that writing, but that's why I really think they thought they'd have more seasons. Because I
yeah,
feel like what I've been loving so much is let's get Crosshairs, let's fill in the gaps on Crosshairs and Omega, get them off Tantus. They're off Tantus. Let's get them back with Hunter and Wrecker. Let's keep the story moving. And I think, like this standoff is awesome. And it was almost like beyond that, the shock in your mind of going, they're really just going to keep this moving, which ups the ante so much. Like you and I were saying the other day that every episode is hit hard. Like
oh yeah,
like I knew fundamentally Crosshairs was going to make it out of the most recent episode when he was underwater, but there was like a little part of me that was like, I don't know. It feels like they're double time and everything. Could like he be killed here, and then that clone is a clone of him, or
hmm
something? Like he takes his place. Like
yeah.
what could it be? Like that's
We'll get into some thoughts about that in the later
yeah, no,
episode, man.
totally. But you
So
get what I'm saying though. But yeah, like that was my thinking. There was that it's like all that tension. They're just moving it right along, and
yeah,
it's great. And I loved Hunters. And then we can go to the next episode. He goes, we went across the galaxy for you. He goes, we looked across the galaxy for you. Like when Wrecker says that, and then Hunter behind him goes twice, and that's
yeah.
how he kind of steps out. And it was just like, oh, great, yeah, no, good stuff.
Yeah. It was a great episode, honestly,
Yeah,
and we've rated every episode so far, right? So I
yeah,
would say the episode 4 standalone, I gave it like a solid 7.5 to an 8 out of 10, honestly.
yeah. I'm at like 7 out of 10. I think it was
Yeah,
good. I think very entertaining. It definitely moved the plot forward, so it gets credit for it. But I think overall, you weren't. You were just watching. You were in a delightful tale for the week, and I think sometimes to get above that 7.5 for me, it's got to like be like an episode 3 of this season, or like an episode
yeah.
1. Like really, like yeah,
So for me, it was a 7 until that last scene with the standoff, and I was like, okay, that put it up a little
okay, yeah.
bit.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I'm a 7 to a 7.5 on it, but I'm probably closer to a 7. I won't watch that episode over unless I'm like doing a full series rewatch. It's kind of
yeah,
like, but I still think it was a really good episode.
yeah, it definitely was. So, and moving right into that, we jumped right into episode 5 titled The Return. Tensions rise as our heroes navigate new dynamics on a dangerous mission. The Bad Batch lands on the ice world. Crosshair originally met Mayday and worked with him as they worked to decrypt Nalisay's data pad, and an enormous ice worm wreaks havoc on the team. This episode seems to have some nods to Jurassic Park with the perimeter fence and even the pumping of the breaker like in the first Jurassic Park movie. I threw those parts in there because it was little nods to Jurassic Park that I caught because it had that vibe to it with the creature trying to
Yeah.
set the perimeter fence and everything. So I thought it was kind of just a cool little thing to put in there,
Well,
honestly.
I mean, it happened the week that I saw Dune 2 also. So, like, that sandworm, I was like, it's a snow worm. Like, like, I get those vibes. I got it, dude. You got to focus the next time we do this when you're reading the synopsis. Can you give me the Clone Wars Yularen voice? Like, like when you give me the synopsis, like, dangers arise! Like
I don't even, dude. I don't know if I.
Clones
Tensions
in
rise as
trouble.
our heroes navigate new dynamics on a dangerous mission. So
Exactly. That's what I want to
it's getting there, but but
we,
yeah,
should rotate it every time and see who can get to the Yularen voice. No, but
yeah,
yeah, the sandworm, like Dune vibes. I think I love anything that's like a send in the Marines type of situation.
hmm
Like that's the James Cameron aliens treat us, that whole thing. So what ends up happening to me is like this wasn't that situation. They were just going to the base, but then you kind of get into that like the thing that James Cameron owns. Like, what happened here? Where did everybody go? And I love that
Mm-hmm.
element, the Jurassic Park vibes, like you said, the creature. I think that they've done a really good job of Creature of the Week's episodes this season with the two they've done.
I
Like
would
this
say
one,
so.
really, because I think especially this one, that whole thing was about getting Hunter and Crosshair to kind of rebond.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think honestly, I think the best thing about that episode for me particularly was Wrecker pulling out his original armor and everything, keeping it all of that time
yeah,
and everything, and seeing Crosshair redon the red and black with the skulls. I was like I mean, you've seen my tattoo, man. Like I'm
I've
always
seen it. I know.
like that armor is put in him donning that. It was like it was almost like he was reborn into Bad Batch, and throughout that episode, every single one of them was real, except for Omega. Really was really questioning him on whether he was legit or not. And I think even us as the audience were still like, yeah, there's still something that might be
Yeah,
happening.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Like,
from yeah, like a little bit. I think. Yeah, I think it's that, and like seeing him in the gray was just it was amazing. There was a couple like kind of choke you up moments in it. I think the thing to me that was like the seeing him in the gray was the best part of the episode. I think the most powerful part of the episode was him seeing the helmets on the floor
dude,
and then
no
stacking
doubt.
them back out the way that they were in the was it the Outpost was the name of the
Yeah,
episode last season?
the outpost episode. It
Yeah,
was the same,
yeah,
and it was the
yeah.
exact same way that Mayday did it when he originally got there and everything.
Yep, exactly. They were all like set up, and it was Mayday's helmet, and like I think that
Yeah,
that was for me. That was like I was like because that's what showed Hunter like he's got respect for the clones, and I like
and that's
I
really
think I
not something that he's ever had. Like he's never
yeah
had that type
uh-huh.
of like respect or love for any other clones. Like even for those in the Bad Batch themselves, let alone these
Yeah.
like the Red clones and everything like that. So
Like he was
it.
just kind of a general dick, and he was he was the one picking fights with Regs when
Oh
they
yeah.
were before Order 66. Sorry, brother. But I'm so excited, I'm choked up. But no, but that's I think that's it. It's like it was so powerful, and that's that character momentum that you and I keep talking about too. With him that with each episode, he more and more becomes beyond like when he was a good guy. Like
Yeah.
he's growing sort of like how Hunter did in some ways with Omega, and it's a great way to. I think they're giving all even the way Tech died last season. They're every character is going to get the attention and love they deserve before the series ends,
Yeah.
regardless of their fate.
No, and I would definitely agree with that. And I think honestly, the episode overall was great. They them getting there. They had the purpose for being there to decrypt Nalice's data pad. They brought Echo
Mm-hmm.
back in with this too, and they get there to decrypt it, and it doesn't even give them too much information. But to go through that whole process, they had to go through shutting down the perimeter fence, give it power, and then that's when the fake sandworm from Dune comes up out of the ice. And they kind of go through this whole sequence with that where Hunter and Crosshair really get into this. Do I trust him? Do I not trust him? And I think the way that they brought them together and everything, where he ends up saving Hunter and everything, was really really great.
I loved it, and I think it's an interesting thought that I had. I want to run by you.
Hmm.
So Crosshair's his hand is like a little funky. I think we've now covered that, belabored that quite into the ground. Hunter used to be able to kind of sense these things a little quicker than
Yeah,
they happened, like the sandworm coming, like the electric. You haven't seen Wrecker do too much lifting of spaceships lately. I don't wonder if remember like the clones age double time, and it's weird because I don't
yeah,
think I feel like George Lucas ever did that math because that would mean by the time you get to Rebels, like Rex is like 108. So like, how do you fight in the Battle of Endor? That's neither here nor there, but maybe they're starting to fall apart a little bit, or not like it's getting not as they're dull. Those skills are dulling with age.
I've actually kind of thought the same thing too, and it was particularly Hunter's skill set where he senses those things. Like he's in this season, and even some of last season, you really see him just not being able to like sense those. And I don't know if it's just because they're not writing it in, or if they're like actively like, hey, these clones degrade after X amount of years. So this is them starting, like a
Yeah,
machine starting to fall apart, basically.
yeah.
So I think it's something that it could be written in that way, and honestly, if they did that way, I think it would be really interesting. what I'm interested to see about it though is kind of like how they explain that with Rex, and because he goes for a lot longer, all the way up
Yeah.
into Rebels, and then kind of getting into that into the whole Battle of Endor thing. So
Yeah, we don't
it's
know when he dies. Yeah, that's
no,
what I'm saying. You have to be like 1,000. So I'm like, is my theory accurate? Like when I think about that, or am I reading too much into it? But I also, they could just not be writing it in. I mean, I feel like when you watch a lot of stuff, there's an idea for a character at the beginning. Like, in
mhm.
Hunters, Hunters, they basically, like, I think I read, he's Billy from Commando, right? Was like the
Yeah,
thing that they liked
that's
about it.
actually the
And
best.
like, he's like, I think that was the inspiration Filoni used, or that George and Filoni talked about.
It makes
So like,
sense
it's
even
kind of
with the
funny.
headband.
Exactly, it's 100%. It's like even the paint like this, like from basically, I think the idea for him was this, like, well, what power do we give him? We got the strong one, we got the smart one, we got the sharpshooter. What could the leader do? Well, the leader leads. He's a tracker.
Hmm.
Also, going back to who Billy was, he's a scout. And he can like feel the electromagnetic stuff in the ground, and that has to do with like droids and fighting droids and all that. But I think maybe it's one of those things where like over time they were just like, feel like we're doing fine with this. My babysitter is a commando thing, and
Yeah,
like it's kind of fallen a little by the wayside. And like, I think
I
that's okay.
I
Like,
I think that might be what happened with it. I don't think they like tossed it out entirely, or
yeah,
like I don't think they're writing in as like a hey, they're degrading and everything like that. I
yeah,
just think it's not something that they're putting at the forefront of it anymore personally. So I think it
yeah,
would be cool if they did kind of make that like, hey, yeah, these skills aren't being used anymore because these guys are fucking, like the equivalent of like 75 years old now or whatever it would be.
yeah. And I think his skills also were never super clear, right? Like it was like he can feel the
Yeah.
electromagnetic in the ground, so that's good for battle droids. Maybe that's not good for snow worms
Yeah.
on
But
what's it? Cold Akis instead of Arrakis. What if it
yeah,
like
cold Akkus.
snow Crackus? Like that's the but yeah, Snow Rakkus. That makes more
What's
sense.
funny is I just watched the first part one of the new one actually
Oh,
recently,
it's so
so
good.
it was
We'll do our
amazing.
own. Yeah, part two made me. I saw it in theaters.
Hmm.
Let me just tell you, sir. We'll do this for our other podcast. How you doing? The
How you doing?
how you doing? It's our Dune podcast, everyone.
Yeah,
But so, but part two, you're in for a treat, amigo. You are
yeah,
in.
so,
It's a masterpiece unlike anything I've ever seen,
yeah. But back into
except
Star
for
Wars,
these
though.
next up and two episodes of Bad Batch.
That's what I was about to say. So before we get into those two episodes, though, rating this episode, this one for me, the return. I think with everything we saw as far as p- bringing stuff back from other episodes and really just I think everything in general that it had brought with it, I'm gonna give it a solid 7.5.
I'm eight. I'm eight on it.
Oh, no
I
shit.
think that,
Okay.
yeah, I think so. I do. There's the rewatch value. There's all that, but I think there's enough moments in this episode. First of all, and this might just be like me because we have not gotten a lot of Hunter and Wrecker this season, so we finally got them
Yeah,
back, and you get our first glimpse of Echo. Now we're like 5 episodes in for this, so for me it was really exciting. The gray armor, putting the clone helmets on the table, the end, that line of dialogue where he's like, "I've done things," like to
yeah,
Hunter. It's
yeah.
like they managed to take a Monster of the Week episode and really make it important. Like anybody that would argue that episode was unnecessary, I would say just didn't want to like that episode.
I would full
Yeah.
heartedly agree. So now for episodes 6 and 7, I'm actually gonna read these both off at the same time because these
Let's
could
do it
have been,
together. Yeah,
yeah,
one
like
episode. Yeah.
this could have been a fucking movie. Honestly,
If
like it
this
was.
had been split by 2 weeks, I would have been so pissed.
Oh yeah.
I
The
was so
cliff
glad
the cliffhanger at episode 6, I would have lost my damn shit. So,
that's exactly they knew what they were doing. They
anyways,
always put those Rex episodes together anyway, but yeah, go for it.
yeah.
All
So,
right, get the
anyways,
voice ready, channel
yeah.
it.
Episode 6, Infiltration. The Batch reunites with an ally in need. That's all I'm gonna do with that. But Captain Rex and the Rogue clones are working to assist Senator Chuchi and former Separatist leader of Raxus. During this, a secret operative from the Empire is captured. The Bad Batch meets with Rex, and the clones are then attacked by a second operative who then sets out to capture Omega. Once it goes sideways, we get a visual of Clone Commander Wolf leading the Imperial forces to retake all of our clones. Now, episode 7. As the Empire's forces surround the Batch, and the group of rogue clones. They make their way down the spire structure to escape being pursued by the operative. During this escape, fights break out, leading to a showdown between Crosshair, still struggling with his shaking hand, and the operative. It culminates in a waterfall top battle. Stunned and knocked out. Ugh, I can't talk today, man. It culminates in a water top battle where the operative reveals that he has some familiarity with Crosshair and is then stunned and knocked off of the waterfall. The Bad Batch is then let go by Wolf once he speaks with Rex, leading us to wonder what will happen to Commander Wolf and how does this lead him and Rex to joining in the future during the Rebel series.
That
So
is literally what I said. What we just ended there with. What my wife and I were talking about the minute the episode was over, because we were like, "So how does he and Wolf get back together? What happens?" There's so much we need to know that I feel like we're going to start
there's
to get. I don't think we're going to get all the answers by the end
I
of
don't
this.
I
But
don't I think we'll get something that can lead us into what they do in Rebels, but
yeah,
just to start off of it, we've had Rex leading this rogue detachment of clones, trying to save clones from like save these other rogue clones who are like, yeah, what we did was fucked, Order 66, and like
yeah.
overthrowing the Republic. And then Senator Chuchi has been involved with this from the beginning with them, realistically. So I think them kind of going back into that like they had with the previous seasons was extremely cool. And then having that where they actually capture the operative, which I was surprised to say in the least, because they showed the visual and it was that um the same armor as that one we saw in episode
Yeah.
3 of this season, where we kept trying to figure out who it was.
Mm-hmm.
So that part there really kind of leaves me wondering, like, all right, are they all just like standardized clones, or are we going to see somebody we're not expecting under the second operative who went to go,
Well,
who went in after?
he's technically the third, because didn't we have one of those guys last season? I don't remember what kind of armor he wore.
He
And the
so it's the third one that we've seen. I'm just talking this season. So the
oh no,
first
no, no,
one,
I'm saying I get you. Yeah, I feel like we're all going nuts, and like I had this whole thing this week where I was like, he's a watered down version of all of them. He can track, and he's got the knife with the hand to hand. He can shoot. He's strong enough to overpower crosshairs, but not like super strong. He's smart enough to hack things. What if we get Marek or Marocked?
mm,
Like from Ahsoka. Like I call it getting
yeah,
Marocked. Like we were all like, "It's Galen Marek. It's this. It's that." I'm swear to God, that it's like it was a Night Sister reanimated Inquisitor that we never
yeah,
heard of.
it's pretty much
Like
so.
it's like
But
like,
well, I
sketchy brother. No, just
this the second operative that we see, I think we're gonna find out a
yeah, I
little
think
bit
it's gonna be
more, and I think it's gonna be a little bit more than just like a standard clone who got
yeah,
reconditioned and stuff. So,
yeah.
but them ending up at I can't remember the name of it, but it was the same structure that the Clone Wars movie started at, where Anakin and Ahsoka go to rescue the Hutt's kid, if you remember that.
Oh shit, yeah, that is.
Yeah, so
I
you didn't
totally
recognize
forgot.
it?
I totally forgot about that. That
Yep.
is
So
cool.
it is the exact same. I can't remember the planet or the structure name off the top of my head, and I should have wrote it down. But it's the exact same place that the Anakin and Ahsoka
Scaling the wall.
assaulted.
Yeah, yeah,
Assaulted
yeah, yeah.
to get back the Hut kid.
I should be kicked off this podcast. I don't. That is.
So I didn't notice it until watching it for like a second time, like the other day, and I was just like, "Oh fuck, I know what that's from." So
That is awesome. First of all, you know what I do love when you go back and watch that Clone Wars movie, and there's this scene when they get to that planet, and like the guy's like checking his rifle, and it like zooms through one of the clones' like shoulders, and it's playing borderline like heavy metal music. Like there is like this
yeah,
element of trying to make that movie really badass. That like it is a very poorly reviewed piece of Star Wars content. It
it
holds a place
was.
in my heart based on it being the beginning of something really special. But there's
Yes,
definitely things in that they really took a step back, and they were like, maybe we just try to make this feel like Star Wars instead of like Star Wars meets GI Joe. Like it's kind of like
yeah,
it meets
but
Michael Bay Transformer. But anyway, yeah.
well, only if there's Lincoln Park in there. So
Yeah, it starts. Hey, it starts with one. That's all I'll say.
yes, yes, but yeah, no, but yeah, when once they get there and they're kind of interrogating the operative and everything. Rex brings in the Batch and everything because they realize who this person is and who they're tracking. That they're tracking Omega. And Crosshair, I think Crosshair didn't reveal what he knew already because he did not want to put Omega in a spot to like freak
Yeah.
her out and stuff.
Mhm.
But at that point, he kind of, puts the cards down and he's like, this girl is in extreme danger. We gotta go. And then
Yeah.
like right as this shit happens, the second operative comes in and wrecks town on them and everything like that. So,
Yeah,
but
I don't think it's he's withholding. I think as much as he wants to, they need to earn, as much as he needs to earn their trust, they need to earn his trust.
yeah,
And
yeah,
his way of letting this information out is clear and present danger. Like there was no need to ever talk about these, alpha clones, whatever they are, rogue badass clones, whatever
yeah,
you want to call them, Agent X's. But now that there's a clear and present danger, like it needs to be revealed and it needs to be discussed. And
yeah,
I think that that's like a really what you're saying, yes, but I think you're really kind of seeing like the give and take on it. And I think it also is helpful because just from a writing standpoint, it adds that friction with Hauser, who I still think, goddamn, Hauser is just a very good looking clone. Like that
dude.
hair, what a good looking guy.
Dude, I was about to say like if I could get my hair like that, like
I don't have any hair anymore, and I look at that
eh,
clone. And I'm like, I call him Hot Clone. It's just the Hot Clone, you know? Yeah.
Chad.
Ah, Chad, what a Chad.
But-
He's a king of Chad. That's his call sign. Call sign Chad.
There's worse ones out there, but yeah,
Oh
and
no,
then
not buckshot. I'm just kidding.
yeah, the end of the episode though, where like the structure gets destroyed, they get buried and everything, and the Imperial forces come in, and you see Wolf step off the aircraft. I was just like, "There's no fucking way!" Like there is no
Yeah,
fucking way. And
it's so
it was still, it wasn't like, it was still just how Wolf sounded, how he acted, and everything.
yeah,
Like it wasn't like like a real crazy post order 66 type of clone or anything like that.
yeah.
He
It was
was
just straight up. Yeah, you know
he
what I?
because it was like he had like and this kind of like just shows really like how the Empire compartmentalized things. I think he really had no idea what this all was significant to, or like what the significance of the clones there
Yeah,
were, Omega, nothing like that. They were just like, yeah, go capture them and everything. So
yeah. No, absolutely.
it's it was
It's
very
fragment.
interesting.
Yeah, it's compartmentalized, and I liked when you saw him. It's a funny thing. I think. Well, first of all, like I thought Hauser died, even though he didn't, right there with the blowtorch thing
Yeah.
and the grenades, and I was like, oh, fucking why? Why? Don't I was my I don't know if there was a clone named Buckshot, but that's always whenever you hear a new clone's name. Like we're like my wife and I was like, that clone's gonna die. It's like this is Buckshot. He's the best we've got. He's going. And then by the end of the episode, it's like, oh no, not Buckshot.
Yeah.
So like it's but I was like upset about that. But then I think when Wolf came on, like I was pumped, but I feel like it might have been in a trailer or something. You saw Wolf for a
I don't
second
think
or
I
a brief.
remember it.
I think there might have been something. I feel like I knew Wolf was going to be in this
I
season.
don't remember that
I
one.
don't know why. Maybe in the
Interesting.
trailer it looked like Cody. I'm gonna go back and watch the trailers, but
I might need to
so like,
go
I
back
was
and do
super
that then.
stoked. Yeah, you know what? It's a debunk for next week. Remember
Yeah.
we talked about. I'm going to say one thing each week, and I'm going to go back and I will figure out if he is. Next week, everybody come back and we'll find out if Wolf. Don't watch the trailers. I will tell you if Wolf is in those trailers. But so no, but yeah, like, I was pumped, but I think more so for me, just anytime Rex is on, I get really stoked. I love that fight in the base. I love the explosion and all that. And it was. I think overall it's a really good episode, but it's part of why we're putting these two episodes together. Is on its own that there wasn't enough meat on the bone there
Yeah.
for you to air that episode alone. And I will say, Senator Chi-Chi, best name of all time to this day. Like for some reason in my mind, like it's like a Watto being like, "You being a real Chuchi," like it's like I don't know what that would be like. Hey,
No,
Senator Chuchi, how's it going? I don't know why it's so funny to me, but
no, I couldn't tell you, man.
I
But
love the bringing of her back though, and I love the whole thing with the Senate and the clones, and that was heartbreaking last year. But yeah, and
yeah,
then
no shit.
yeah, and then as we drift into this next episode where it picks up, I mean, I think that is where it ends up. I mean, just the acceleration of that episode was nonstop action, and
No,
the
yeah,
exchange between Crosshair and Omega. Like this has become them being. Remember I was the Hound and Arya
yes.
in Game of Thrones. It's like I just want
That's
to watch their show. Yeah,
yeah, and that's really what it turned into. Like, dude, he turned into this real like because you really see it. You saw it a little bit in that first one, episode 6,
yeah,
but you really see it in episode 7 where he is like attached to the hip with her, making sure that she is safe. Excuse me, and like honestly, it's like it's very much like that Hound and Arya relationship from Game of Thrones, like you were
And
saying. So
I love the inflection when he's asking her. He's like, "Can you carry everything?" And she's like, "Yes, I can." He's like, "Got your crossbow?" Like the way he says it. And he's like, "You're just like Hunter. I'm way worse." It's like, but I love that. Got your crossbow? Like it's like silly.
it
Like
was it was
yeah.
I enjoyed the little banter
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
honestly.
yeah, it was a lot of fun.
But
It was one of those things like I was like, that's like it's very special for me. And then being a Crosshairs fan, him staying behind in that sniper fight is just like why you watch the show.
that
Even though he missed with the first shot, taking out the gunship, like with a blaster bolt, like I think, and it takes me a lot. Like this is like a weird thing. I understand that they use stun in the same way that we use silencers.
hmm
Like, and that's why they're stunning all these clones. And like, because if you think about it, like they rotate back and forth, like in the summit, whatever was the summit at the end of last season, Plan 99, those two episodes, they were on full non-stun when they were shooting at regular stormtroopers.
yeah.
So I'm still on the fence of if it's more of a silencer when you're stunning clones, or if they don't want to shoot clones because they feel like they don't know that they're the bad guy, but they will shoot stormtroopers dead.
I
So
think it's that personally. Like I
yeah,
think
yeah,
like I definitely don't think they're trying to kill the clones, like because like even the commandos, like they when they've gotten into that when they went into Mount Tannis and everything,
yeah.
or not Mount Tannis, where the hell was it where they found
Oh,
where
where they did War Mantle.
yes, that's the one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Um,
don't remember what planet that is, but yeah,
yeah, that's what I was referring to. But yeah, like you've never seen them. I don't think I've ever seen them use regular blaster bolts on clones. It's always been that stun. So I don't think it's like an thing of stealth. I think it's they're not trying to kill the clones. But as far as the stormtroopers go, they're just
yeah.
like
Still free
pish
game.
posh.
I remember that episode when they were in there escaping and Hunter's like kind of running to hop on the ship before they lose him, right? Like when it's the whole like like when they first like when the ship comes back and the door opens and they've been using stun. I remember that whole episode. I was like, why are they using stun? And then the door opens and just Wrecker going like full auto, like, set to set to kill everyone. And I was
Dude,
like, this is awesome. But yeah, no, back to this episode. Like I think that shot he makes going up and through, I think you get such a great fight with him and super secret agent clone. Awesome fight with that guy. You get or gal, I don't know, we haven't met him. But so like you get that is very untrue, everybody. But anyway, so I don't need to debunk that one for myself. But
yeah,
so yeah, I would say, and then you get to that moment at the end where the standoff, and I think that standoff that like this is why we're watching this show, and they're
yeah,
doing a great job of making it about the Bad Batch, but like slowly making this more of the epilogue to the Clone Wars than we kind of thought it was going to be going in. And I think
yeah.
that was really, really cool thing to do there. And I think Wolf having them stand down, sort of like when Wolf did that. I'm like, are we just going to find like a cell with like the dead body of like Cody, Wolf, like all the clones that didn't do what the Empire said on these missions that would
hmm
cross. And then like, is it like sort of like if you work with crosshairs, you're going to die anyway. If you're like a clone that's still in the
It's
Imperial Army,
it left it in a very weird spot because it was like
like where's he
he
going to go?
knowingly let them go, and like everyone there knew what he did. It was all clones,
Yeah,
obviously, so it wasn't troopers. So
yeah,
it's one of those things where it's like he's gonna have to report this back. What's this gonna
yeah.
do
What's the
to
story here?
him?
Yeah,
Especially because the commandos, where I think we talked about how it's interesting how they were the ones who seemed super obedient to Order 66 into the Empire when they were kind of engineered to
yeah,
be more along the lines of Jango Fett, where they were more that independent type.
yeah.
And they've actually been like the most obedient to the Empire so far. So that Commando is going to go back
Yeah.
and snitch on that motherfucker. So
Yeah, always wonder about them if there's some kind of a chip or something that goes into that. But it also kind of feels like those guys might not have needed the chip. Like it's hard to explain. Like it's what you said. Like they might have just been. They like remember it's all about compartmentalization. You know this better than anybody. It's all. But so maybe they always knew about Order 66, the Commandos. Like, do you
I
know what
don't
I'm saying?
know.
And like Commandos maybe didn't go out with Jedi, so it doesn't even matter to them. They're taking what the Empire told them happened with the Jedi as what the Empire told them happened with the Jedi,
That's
right? Do
that's
you know
a
what I'm
good
saying? Like,
fucking point. Yeah.
yeah, like it's sort of like we're thinking of it in terms of like, well, they were always maybe like either they didn't know or they always knew these guys are the tip of the spear. Like they're they destabilized the separatist government or whatever they did. Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of like so. it's an interesting kind of thought there. But yeah, that was my first thought. I was like, so he's just going to go back? Like, and also, like, can we find out what happened to Cody? Because it's sort of the same shtick.
I think
Um,
we're definitely going to see something with
I
this
do too, yeah.
season, especially
I
getting
think
Wolf in
maybe the
there.
agent may be Cody.
I don't think so.
I can't come up with one that I really like.
I
Um,
like it's not a bad. I don't think it's a bad theory, and it's definitely possible. I think it's more just me hoping it's not because I don't know,
the only one that'll piss me off is if it's Tack, because that just
dude.
waters.
I will fucking be so fucking mad. Like
I feel like
I
they
will
wouldn't do
be
that. I feel
pissed.
like that death is so important to the show that it would
I
make it like not. Yeah,
Yeah, I think it falls in that line too, where his death was just way too impactful and it meant way too much that they're not going to just. Oh, by the way, he's not actually
yeah.
dead.
Well, now you have to fight him. I think it
Yeah,
might just be like another Crosshair, to be honest. Like
that's what
like
I'm thinking. It's something like that, honestly, because it's got the same vibe. The same, almost like kind of that same fighting style, the same shooting before his
yeah,
hand
yeah.
issues and everything. So we'll find out, man. But those two episodes right there, I'm gonna group them together, and those I'm giving those episodes a 9 out of 10.
I, I'm like, yeah, nine. Honestly, like separately, if you think of them together, I might be like 9.5
I
because
mean,
I
it's up
will
there.
watch both those episodes. I try to like for the most part only watch really major moment episodes where like a character dies or
Mhm.
something in the with the cartoons. Like when I will do a full rewatch of the show. So like
Yeah,
I won't just errantly watch the 2 episodes at the end of last season, right?
yeah,
Like I won't just do that randomly. I'll have to make myself watch the season. But this is one of those episodes. It's got a lot of action. It's got a lot of fun. I would rewatch this pretty regularly when I want to watch like a piece of Star Wars content.
yeah.
So 9.5 on my end for sure. Yeah.
No, and honestly, it's right up there too for me. I give it a 9 just because I don't like to go up too high. But as far as like what we've seen so far, some of the best
Yeah.
Bad Batch,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, this season, I don't think there's an episode from any of the previous seasons that can touch some of the better episodes this season. Like, I think like some of the better stuff, and there was really good episodes in those seasons. Don't get me wrong; they've just hit a stride with this that makes me wish we had 2 more seasons
Oh,
after
easily.
this because they've like kind of figured the formula out over time, and maybe it is that we've always wanted it to be like this. That wasn't their vision, but
Yeah.
they thought they'd have more time. Who knows?
Right
Not sure.
right now what they're doing with it feels like what they did when they were hitting like peak Clone Wars,
Yes, 100%. They're hitting that stride. Yeah,
like the Umbara
Umbara, yeah. You start getting
the
Umbara. It's about halfway
it,
through season 2 is when you
yes,
get the crisis on Umbara. I think that's season 3 or 4. But like you start getting the attack on Camino. You get
yes,
the Mon Calamari. You get
everything from that point when they did like Echo and Fives ARC Trooper like fucking jump
yeah,
there where they
yeah,
became ARC Troopers. Everything from then on was peak fucking Clone Wars in my opinion, and I think
100%,
that is like basically what Bad Batch has hit at this point
a
because
100%.
everything that we've watched has been shit hot, and I love it.
Yeah, they figured it out. But yeah, so that's me.
So
9.5 entering peak Clone Wars territory.
yeah,
All
absolutely.
right.
So,
Yep.
but
Cool.
anyways, man, so those 4 episodes were absolutely shit hot. Loved it, and I cannot wait to see what happens next. So we're
Hmm.
about halfway through the season, unfortunately, and I know that if they kind of go in line with what they did with the Clone Wars, the last few episodes may build into this. It's going to be probably. I think it's going to be like 2 or 3 episodes that build into really that final culminating moment and everything, much like how Clone Wars did. With the Siege of Mandalore going to the Venator going down and all that shit. So
Yeah, and you had that like, the premiere of this show was like 90 minutes or so.
yeah,
The series premiere. Get a 90-minute finale, baby. Just keep it going. Give me 3 episodes instead of one to close the show out.
damn
I don't
son,
think it's going to
agreed.
happen, but I would love that. Yeah,
I think we will get a longer ending because it's like you said. I think they wanted to do this for more seasons and then just it did not happen. But I do think we're gonna get I think we're gonna get a very good ending, and by good I don't mean it's gonna make us feel good. It's gonna be a good ending for these
yeah. I
characters.
think it'll feel like the ending we deserve to have gotten, regardless of the positivity or negativity of what happens to the characters. I think they know. I think this show has had a little bit more. I guess from people I know, I have friends that are huge Star Wars fans that love it, and friends that are just like, it's all side missions. So I feel like
Mhm.
that's kind of maybe why they didn't get the time that they needed, really. But I
Yeah,
think that for those that have really stuck through it, we're going to be rewarded with
I
getting those
definitely think so.
characters. Being justice will be done to whatever the end result of the show is for the people that have invested time in it, for sure. I think, yeah,
100%, man.
yeah,
So, but wrapping up on this week, loved it. I can't wait to see next week. Kind of moving into some other news, for all of our viewers here, we're actually very excited, Matt and I, to be welcoming one of our good friends, Brad, on next week.
yep,
So he is, we're pretty much the three amigos when it comes to this shit. He's been away for the last about month and a half, and he just got back. So we are very excited to have him on next week. We're going to introduce him to you guys, and kind of he's going to be the third member of this unit that we do this with all the time. So we're super excited to get him on. You've probably seen his pictures on the screen somewhere, listed as a Star Wars sailor, and we're pumped that he finally is back to join us for this, because he really was one of the integral members of kind of putting this project together.
yeah.
So
Yeah, Brad, Eric, and I run the largest Star Wars Black Series Facebook
yes,
group. We invite everybody who listens to join. It is the Black Star Wars, the Black Series collectors. So it's Star Wars the Black Series collectors. Brad, Eric, and I, and another guy named Ollie, we run that group. So feel free to join. We're super inclusive. Remember always to answer the questions before you submit your request to join. But we are the largest group out there. And, Brad brought all of us together, so it's going to be great to have him on the cast next week.
yeah. And speaking of the group, this week was great because in our group, we actually got Mr. Steve Evans, who is the design director for all Star Wars collectibles for Hasbro, into our group to kind of like share some things with us. And, hopefully maybe someday we can get him on here to hang out with us and everything like that. But
Yeah,
that's really how the three of us, or sorry, the four of us all started kind of like talking about this project, this podcast. Was we were all collectors and everything. You see all my shit behind me up here, you see all of Matt's stuff there. That's really what brought us together and kind of made us start this project. So
yeah. Don't. There's
um
no we there. You cold reached out to Mr. Stevie, and he's on our page now. So big ups to you for always doing the beyond that we need from you as this group of guys that runs this page and does this podcast. You're the best, brother. Like that was an awesome. You just shooting that note over to him and getting him to join. It was amazing.
Yeah, no, and honestly, dude, it was just I'm happy to have him in there because
Yeah,
this is the forefront of Hasbro for all these collectibles, and I'm
yeah,
super excited to have him as a member of our group and to
yep.
see all these new things coming out from Hasbro. Which, if you are not tracking on it, we just had the 3-figure piece dropped for Jedi Fallen Order with Cal Kestis in the Inquisitor get up, Second Sister, and the Purge Trooper with the Electro Hammer. So we'll put the link for that in our description as well if you want to pre-order that one. And Mr. Steve Evans, we can't thank you enough for that one. That is one of the most anticipated Black Series
Oh yeah.
to date, I think.
I already had a second sister. Cal Kestis is an Inquisitor. So pumped for that figure, but I got to be honest, that Electro Hammer, like
That's the one.
when
Dude.
the actual official photos came out, because we had only seen the pipeline reveal. When the official photo came out, it was like you have these two figures. One I already have, and I know she's a big one for everybody that doesn't. One that's cool, but it's like a head swap, and
Mhm.
I'm pumped to have it, but it's a head swap. And it kind of like my eyes went like, that Electro Hammer? Like,
Dude,
it's got like
so like the Second
I'm
Sister I was super
$55
excited about.
for an Electro Hammer.
The Second Sister I was excited about because I missed I never collected much of the red box ones like that.
Okay, yeah,
So I did more. I got into the Black Series more when the mural line came out. So I'm super
yeah.
excited to get Second Sister finally. The Cal Kestis body just looks sick as shit, the Inquisitor version.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, when you saw that Purge Trooper with the Electro Hammer, that
Yeah.
shit fucking slapped.
If I
Fucking
was like, if
slapped.
I had like all unlimited disposable income, I would buy like 5 of that, and
Yeah.
then literally just for the Purge Troopers and Electro Hammers, like, like just part out the other ones or sell them online or whatever. Like, it'd be like that's all I'd want. But I don't get me wrong. I think that the other two figures are awesome. I'll always take another Second Sister. It's a great figure, and I'll take a new Cal. But that purge trooper with the electro now. I don't know why. I'm like giggly like a schoolboy about it. I don't know why, but yeah.
I think all of us who collect Black Series are excited about that one, man.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Okay.
but anyways, guys, so that really concludes kind of like what we were going to talk about today with the episodes and some of the cool things. So we want to thank you guys who are watching the show. And we appreciate all you guys who come through here. And if you want to help us with this podcast, we kind of could use your help, to tell you the truth. We are on Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. This is where I would shout out our donors and our sponsors, but we actually don't have any of those yet. We're totally self-reliant on ourselves. But if you like this program and you want to help with our future podcast and our upcoming giveaways that we plan on doing, we now have a Ko-Fi on our link tree, which is in our Instagram bio at Sith Happens _Star Wars podcast, or you can follow https://linktr.ee/Sith Happens Star Wars podcast. Anyone who donates will receive a shout. Huh?
Those are the coordinates.
Those are the coordinates. Anyone who donates will receive a shout out on our podcast with their social media tag. So thank you. And our direct line to Ko-Fi is https://ko-fi.com/the_Dadalorian_. So closing remarks, man. So we don't have any debunks this week, I don't think.
No debunks. I was totally behaved last time. So I can redo my old debunk. The dark saber is in fact the inverted sound of a lightsaber. I was correct.
Yes, we do have that one.
Wolf for when we record in a couple days. But yeah, I don't think closing remarks, dude. It is a great time to be a Star Wars fan. I think we're heading into this week. We've got another live stream on Hasbro for some more new figures. Like whether you're a vintage collection collector, whether you're a Black Series collector, I think Mr. Steve Evans, the man himself, not kissing his butt, but he was great for the line. He moved off. Him moving back onto the line, I think there's going to be a lot more listening to fans like there was previously. I think that we're going to see. I haven't disliked the product. I know a lot of people have felt like there were things they didn't like. More so when he moved off. I think we're going to continue to see a progression there that I'm really, really excited about.
I think something with him particularly that, what you were saying, he listens to the fans.
Yeah, he does.
This guy watches and shares the SWTVC pages, March Madness stuff that's going on right now.
Yeah.
And I really do think that some of those ones that are on there we'll be seeing in the future. So fingers crossed, man. But like you said, he did great things for the line.
Yeah, he did. So I'm excited about that. And I think Acolyte, rumor has it, we're going to get some kind of a preview when Phantom Menace comes out for Acolyte for June. I feel like we're going to get some kind of a trailer before then. I think we're going to get you'll get 4 minutes or 5 minutes of Acolyte before Phantom Menace. That's what I would think in that rumor, because you can't wait for 30 days out to show a trailer for a show. So the Ahsoka trailer was almost like 7 months out. You know what I mean? Or whatever.
It was decently out. But I forgot to even bring this up. Speaking of new projects, Patty Jenkins got re-signed to doing the Rogue Squadron movies. So I am beyond stoked for that one. So you see my X-Wing helmet right behind me there. I will be wearing that in the fucking movie theater. You can bet your ass on that.
And I will maybe be there, pet flight pending. But so I'll wear my Rex helmet. People are like, I don't get it. But yeah, cool. Yeah. This is, I think, just a great time. I think we really had an embarrassment of riches when it came to content. I think we're all guys. We're going to have less stuff. There's going to be higher quality stuff coming, and we're going to have more to talk about on not only our show but just as Star Wars fans in the community. Very exciting stuff. And the Bad Batch right now, I think, is a great sign of things to come in the coming weeks for us to talk about.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, man. So, but thank you guys for joining us today. We really appreciate you spending your time with us. Matt, I'll shoot it over to you.
All I have to say is what I have to say every week, guys. May the Force be with you always.
And this is the way.
Amigo.